Hi there, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Conversations with MM. This is Marivir Montebon, and I hope you're doing well. It's a very fine autumn day today, and it's October 28th, 2022. And we're still enjoying autumn and celebrating as well the Filipino American History Month, which will be ending towards 2 days from now on the 30th. So time flies, isn't it? And this afternoon, I am going to feature two wonderful events that the community has created in celebration of our History Month. The first one is a stunning event on the showcasing of dances and wonderful creations of our couturier in the Philippines. I have to wear this so that I can see what I'm going to show you this afternoon. And so a few weeks ago, the Hiraya Foundation created the Baile Filipiniana, which is a fundraiser in support of the indigenous and local artisans in the Philippines through this big party. It's a stunning party, and I was so glad to be invited to join the party. This was on October 17 at the Grand Ballroom of the Plaza Hotel in New York, and it's brought to us by uh, Sining Lahi by the Hiraya Foundation. And I'd like to thank very much the organizers and leaders, Dr. Romulo Arumin, for a great job and for having me, and of course Nora Galeros. And during that event, there were presentations, the Mindanao tradition bearers with Kinding Sindao, and there was the Philippine Ballet Theater, which really made effort to fly here through the leadership of its president, Miss Marilu Can Magsaysay. And there was also the Rigodon de Honor, wonderful showcase of the creations of Cora Manimbo and Ulysses King. And the lovely Cher Calvin was the host for the entire evening, and we were also enjoying the music of Affinity NYC. That's lovely. And so I enjoyed it so much. Our friends in the media were there, and so we were so happy to see each other again in that stunning event. So let me show you some of the highlights. Let's take a look. There you go. So that's like the opening song, which was Magandang Gabi sa inyong lahat, sang by good friend Kisha and Krisha and the band Affinity NYC. So that was lovely. And I'll show you our photos. By the way, the Plaza Hotel is an iconic, is a great landmark here in New York. It is, I remember this was the site of the movie Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin, that very popular movie, and also The Way We Were with Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford. So these are just one of the two of the movies that I would remember that's being held in the at the plaza. And so here are some more party shots. Take a look. There you go. So the it was a very stunning evening, as I mentioned. The women were all dressed in Filipiniana, and mostly created by uh, Miss Miss Manimbo, Cora Manimbo, and Ulysses King. And at that event, the UN ambassador, the Philippine UN ambassador, Manuel Antonio Lagdameo was a keynote speaker, and he gave a shout out to immigrants in the U.S. and in the East Coast for their hard work and for their rootedness, that they haven't forgotten. Most of them haven't forgotten their families way back in the Philippines, and are an economic force and a love force to reckon with. So that's him. And then there we also had uh, Con, Deputy Consul General Arman Talbo. So he spoke of the history of the Philippine History Month, which was actually a several centuries ago when workers of the galleon trade went jump shipped actually from the Manila to Mexico, and then to the US in California, so that they would earn um, a much freer life. So they started to become immigrants in the US. So that was the beginning of the immigration journeys of many Filipinos many years ago. So that's that's a bit of history. Thank you, Deputy Congen Arman Talbo. And and we all I'll show you a picture of our lovely MC. She's an award-winning media practitioner, Miss Cher Calvin, and very happy to meet the president of the Philippine Ballet Theater. Very lovely, gracious woman, Miss Marilu Magsaysay. And here I am with my friends in the media and attorney Elizabeth Cueva in our table. And we also had with us the amazing Victor Palmos. the makeup artist, the one who can transform you. And so happy to be there. Don Tagala, Momar Visaya, Ricky Reliera. We share the same table. And there's Tita Nieva Quezon Bordic, who was part of the Rigodon. She's wearing a gown by Cora Manimbo. And we also have Joycelyn Aligarbes. She was also part of the Rigodon, and she's stunning in her yellow gown with butterfly sleeves. And we have here, there's Steven Raga from Woodside, who's running for the New York Assembly, and he graced the event. We also have the doctor couple, Dr. Rod and Elma Castillo. And there's Tita Avi Pimo. There's Ay Arumin. And you also have my good friend Miguel Braganza, Nora Galeros, Tita Ave, and Edwin Josue on the house. And there's VC Vice Consul Tanya Ramiro with Shiran Ibanez, who was the choreographer of the Rigodon de Honor, and the man of the hour, definitely, Dr. Romulo Arumin. And the lovely, very stunning Joji Halandoni. Look at her gown. It's very elaborate, very intricate. And I had selfie with Ambassador Jose Cusia, who huddled with Miss Loida Nicholas Lewis and friends. So, and Dr. Angie Cruz. Here's another photo of them. So look at those happy, lovely faces that were definitely happy that we met during that time. So it was good, and the highlight for me, the highlight of the event was the performance of the Philippine Ballet Theater. So I'd like to show you this the performance, and you will see, and you can really be proud that we have such world class. God, they're so good. Goosebumps. I was having goosebumps while recording them, and I couldn't be prouder. And the musical director for the Philippine Ballet Theater was Ron Henario. Kudos on that. That was lovely. And here are some more, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look.
Makita, di ka maniniwala, mga kalalakihan, kapag gumana ay tinitignan. Mukha niya parang reyna, ang butis porcelana, bewang parang modenya, hindi nakakasawa. Miss Universe ang forma, kapag matingnan tunaw ka na. Ah, ah. Ako'y hindi mayaman, ito'y katotohanan, kahit di ako gwapo at simple lang na tao. Ito'y hindi sikreto, ang babaeng ito ay nobya ko. Para kami ay magkasama, ako ay formang-forma, di dahil sa suot ko tayo. Nakakabulog kasi kasama ko ang sexy nobya ko. Pag kami ay magkasama, ako ay formang-forma, di dahil sa suot ko tayo. Nagkakagulo kasi kasama ko ang sexy nobya ko. Nagkakagulo kasi kasama ko ang sexy nobya ko. Nagkakagulo kasi kasama ko ang sexy nobya ko.
There you go. So, the dancers gave us a 30-minute performance at the plaza, and they were they were gliding on the music of Jose Marie Chan. And I'd like to share this with you, my favorite piece. Oops, hold on.
Love is like a rusty.
Something's wrong. Hold on. Let me check on this. What happened to this? And I couldn't put it on. Let's see. Yes, try again. Oh, there it is.
From the storm, it exists to give you comfort. It is there to keep you warm. And in those times of trouble, when you are most alone, the memory of love will bring you home. Perhaps love is like a window. Perhaps an open door. It invites you to come closer. It wants to show you more. And even if you lose yourself and don't know what to do, the memory of love will see you through. Oh, love to some is like a cloud, to some as strong as steel. For some a way of living, for some a way to feel. And some say love is holding on, and some say letting go. And some say love is everything, and some say they don't know. Perhaps love is like the ocean, full of conflict, full of change. Like a fire when it's cold outside, or thunder when it rains. If I should live forever and all my dreams come true, my memories of love will be of you.
Isn't it amazing? Oh, I so love that song. And you know what? I was wearing a gown and I was kneeling on the platform. So this is part of the job, that even if you're like elegantly dressed, but it's uncomfortable because you need to take your footages. But I enjoyed it. Really, really loved it. It's worth the time, and I'm sure it's worth everybody else's time as well. Right. So now I'm going to show you the Rigodon de Honor, which was choreographed by a good friend Sharan Ibanez and danced by the enthusiastic ballerinas, not ballerinas, but dancers, Filipino dancers here in New York who are leaders and professionals themselves. Let's take a look at this.
Baile Filipiniana ensemble, choreographed by Shiran Ibanez.
With Cangrejo. Yung chikoro. Precision. Ay, Arun. Gordon, Gordon. Wow, Woodside. So the guys are fighting. They're more strong than flying. Both have punches. Like Baile Filipiniana. How about that? That was great. That was they needed more practice, definitely, but it was fun watching them, and it was good to see that they were so looking good um, in the world class creations of Cora Manimbo. Isn't it amazing? And so for now, I would like to plug this in before we proceed to the next feature of our episode this afternoon. There you go. A reminder, we're already 10 years old in community reportage, making sense of our existence here in the US as immigrants, as responsible people, as people who have struggles and who have issues. And so we bring it to the fore. We bring it to you as it is. So, ongoing right now is the Golden Years exhibit, Weighing Philippine Martial Law 1972 to 1981. This opened last week, about more than a week ago, at the Bliss on Bliss Art Projects on 41, 49, 45th Street, the ground floor on Sunnyside, Queens. And this afternoon, there is going to be a forum on generational impact, uplifting the voices of children of martial law resistors. This is from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and brought to us by the organization Affirm NYC. And so this I was able to attend the opening of the exhibit, and this is a very important, as I mentioned, a very important showcase for history as far as Philippine history is concerned. And I'd like to share the speech given by the curator, Victor Velasco. Let's take a listen.
The gratitude is all mine, and for the graciousness, the kindness that you have received in this exhibit. So as what Arthur said, I'm Victor Velasco. I was born in the Philippines in 1972 in a small town called Caramuran, Catanduanes. I don't know if anybody has heard of it, but it's a small fishing town, fishing and farming town, which has the mountain range of Catanduanes on the east, and then the Maqueta Channel, which is across Albay from Mayon volcano on the west. So the sun rises from the mountain and sets into the sea. A very picturesque, peaceful community. I was 2 years old when the martial law was declared. And as like any, and Karamuran is as far away economically and socially, although not geographically, from Manila as any town in Mindanao. So it's backwards. We only have one main road. We had no electricity until around 1981. And when the electricity came, it was diesel, and it starts at 7 o'clock in the evening and then shuts down around 12 midnight. So, but even with this, I always look back to it as very idyllic childhood, a very peaceful childhood, and my idea of martial law back then was what the Marcoses wanted us to remember as a martial law. So that's what I'm going to talk about memory and martial law. I had no formal training in curation, although Arthur said that this is my third. Actually, I realized this is my fourth curatorial project. I did an exhibit in Chicago on Mabini artworks, the Amor Solo School artworks. I did also curated an exhibit of artworks done by American GIs when they were in the Philippines. And then we had, I did an exhibit recently on women artists who work on stitches on fabric in Houston. And so this will be the fourth one. I have no curatorial, and like I said, I have no formal training in curation. So I was looking at what do I talk about as a curator. And so I'll start with the word curate, and I'll look at the very basic book for it, which is the dictionary. And curate as a noun means to look after the spiritual health of the congregation. Curate, a minister. But curate as a verb means to select, to organize, and to present. So as with any group of objects, the groups that I am offering here in front of you, the photographs can be viewed in dozen ways. As a curator of these historical documents, I am also going to propose a certain way of looking at them. So as I mentioned, my idea of martial law was that idyllic, peaceful time as a child that everybody seems to hunger for, that everybody seems to long for in their projection of nostalgia. As a school child, we would line up in the schoolyard to sing the national anthem and do our Pledge of Allegiance. And then after Pledge of Allegiance, we would line up to the schoolroom. And as we line up outside, the teacher would let us in one by one, but first they have to inspect our nails, if they're clean, the ears, and so on and so forth. And once everything was fine, they would let us into the classroom where there's a picture of Imelda Marcos and Ferdinand Marcos, and looking down on us as we look up to them. And the teacher would always tell us that we have to recite, we have to sing Bagong Lipunan, May Bagong Silang, that theme song that was commissioned by Ferdinand Marcos. And then at the end of the day, or during the day, we would line up and get our bread, Nutriban, sometimes with powdered milk in hot water. Or if there's no Nutriban, they would give us cornmeal and bulgur. And then before the end of the day, we would go to the garden and do our green revolution, where we plant bok choy and radish and carrots. And so it was a very peaceful thing that a lot of people are looking back now and say, those were like the ideal times, very peaceful. And the teachers would tell us how lucky we were that we have the father and mother of the nation looking down on us, and that in return we must repay them by being the disciplined young ones, the disciplined generation that we must be. Discipline was one of the two underlying principles of Marcos' administration. And it was expressed by Marcos in many different ways. The one way that was known to everybody, that was inculcated to us as children, was sa ikauunlad ng bayan, disiplina ang kailangan. In order for the progress of the nation, we must all be disciplined. At the surface, it sounds like a simple behavioral management, right? But what is behavior if not the result of a mental process? And what is a mental process if it cannot be intervened by mental conditioning? That's what martial law did. From routines, the length, checking the nail, the cleanliness of our fingernails, checking the length of the haircut of young men, the number of people allowed to gather in public spaces. So from those routinary activities to problem identification and solving, telling us who is disciplined, who is not, who is law-abiding and who is not, who is the public enemy and who is the hero. All the way to emotional response. That's also discipline, conditioning of the mind. Why should we be scared, or should we be relieved that there's a curfew imposed? What should we respond as a society? Should we despair or celebrate that individuals branded as menace to the society are getting imprisoned without due process of law, or simply disappeared without any trace? 30 years after, in the presidency of Duterte, the undisciplined will be rebranded as the pasaway, the stubborn, the disobedient. And people believed, because we grew up that generation that says, Sa ikauunlad ng bayan, disiplina ang kailangan. The second principle of martial law was by way of Imelda's own slogan about art and art making, which is the good, the true, and the beautiful. In pursuit of this trinity of the creative process, Imelda held spectacles. A pageantry of the nation's history was held, Kasaysayan ng Lahi, where thousands of Filipinos in costumes and native attires were paraded to form a pageantry that is built from a mixture of myths, historical fragments, and fictionalized annals. Field demonstrations became the climax of the school year for a lot of many schools. This was where students dressed in different costumes, colorful, would go to the field and dance to a certain song. Beauty contests, film festivals, literary events were launched to define for ordinary people what was the good, the true, and the beautiful. These were translated in various visual branding from an army of youth, kabataang barangay, wearing uniforms, to an army of street sweepers in red and yellow, the Metro 8, to a fleet of public buses, Love Bus, with colorful, benign, attractive, almost benevolent branding. But these two principles, discipline and the good, the true, and beautiful, what they were doing was really selecting for us and organizing for us and presenting to us what we should think and how we should think. In short, the Marcoses were curating our imagination. We're selecting for us what we should think and how we should think. And they needed to do that to distract us from the figures and facts, from the numbers of human rights violations, the economic numbers, the numbers of how many times the government institutions were overhauled, if not fully destroyed, just so they can remain in power. It was only after college, or it was only during college when I became a volunteer of Task Force Detainees of the Philippines that I realized the underlying facts about those idyllic times. As we plant bok choy underground or radish, there were a lot of people who were killed and were buried without any marks as well. So as we look up to the mother and the father of the nation, those same parents were making a lot of people disappear and making a lot of families and children orphaned or widowed or widowered. So what I'm saying here is that the photographs in these exhibitions were taken in situ. They were documentations, as Arthur has mentioned. They were documenting history as they happened. They were transmitted to the US, distributed by photo agencies, and published in newspapers. As Arthur has also mentioned, they were already providing perspective and depth from a distance that only comes after a reflection and only comes after a passage of time. As Filipinos, we have a belief that says, ang hindi lumingon sa pinanggalingan, hindi makararating sa paroroonan. Those who don't look back where they came from will not be able to reach where they're going. It's not so much about the failure of reaching, but the failure of realizing how you reach there. Time as a mile marker that tells us the speed, the velocity, and the direction of our path. But what if what you were looking back to was constructed for you from the very beginning? What if that memory was already manufactured while it was happening? We were just having nostalgia for something that never really happened. So the past changes every day. Our lived experiences inform us and changes the way we look at the present. Past changes every day as the present becomes part of it. We can always change the way that we look at the past, but these photographs pictured, exhibited here, there's the fact that are frozen in time. I hope that you can see it in a different way, in a way that will be constructive for everybody. Thank you very much.
That was really brave and a very exemplary effort by Victor Velasco. Thank you so much, Victor. And I believe that we need to really dig the truth, and the collections that you had, the photographs of by international media practitioners say it all. You cannot change history. It has happened. It's just a matter of acknowledging and recognizing it. And first and foremost, digging it, because there are a lot of political forces that have decided and have so much resources to change that narrative, which is a no-no as far as development is concerned about ourselves, about our country. You have to deal with the truth to be able to correct it and charter a better future. So kudos on that. And so here's more of my interview with Victor. Congratulations, Victor, for finally opening the exhibit. So ano naman ang iyong damdamin ngayon, feeling ngayon that it's open finally and people are receiving it well here in New York?
Yes, I'm so glad. I'm so happy to see a new community responding to the exhibit. We have been in Miami for a month, and I have discovered a big Filipino community down there. We have 4 different events during the exhibit run, and every time we have an event, there's a new group of Filipino that respond to it, and that's how I feel here. Maybe 5 times, because it's a different demographic. It's a different group of people, a lot of young people here, but they're responding to it in a way that can open up constructive, productive conversations, and that's what we're hoping for.
Great. Congratulations again and salamat. Keep
Salamat
on
din.
keeping on.
Salamat.
Okay. Hello, Ma'am Carolina De Leon. How do you, what is the impact of the exhibit sa inyo po?
Teka muna, Tagalog or English?
It's okay lang.
For me, it's to relieve and remember what's the true history during the Marcos era, that everyone is claiming that it's a golden era, but unfortunately it wasn't. And so we have to continuously telling the truth so that our future generation will not be corrupt with their thinking. I think that this kind of history that took place needs to be retold so that our future generation will develop their own critical thinking, especially with what happened this past election. You know, the sons of the dictators won the seat for presidential, and on the early onset of him being the president, trying to revise the history, and we should not allow that to happen for so many obvious reasons, because we don't like what happened in the Marcos Sr. regime, and the Duterte's regime will take place again for the 3rd time in the hands of the dictator's son.
Salamat po. Hello, Professor Luis. What can you say about the exhibit, this exhibit?
Well, it's about time. It's really important when the current regime in Manila is going to rewrite history so that, you know, people will forget the terrible times that the Filipino people had to undergo during martial law. So this is a welcome and vivid reminder of actual history. So it is important that we have exhibitions like these.
Are you being, did memories rush back to you looking at the pictures?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say rush back because they never left.
Oh,
But yeah, they remind me of certain incidents like the, the people power. Absolutely. The assassination of Ninoy Aquino somewhere here. So yeah, and the scenes of poverty which are still there in the Philippines. That's really the pressing problem. The fact that a majority of our people still suffer the burdens of income inequality, not to mention human rights abuses and discrimination.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
There you go. That was Professor Luis Francia um, of the NYU. He teaches at NYU literature and history. So once again, I'd like to plug this in that the exhibit is going on Golden Years Weighing Philippine Martial Law 1970 to 1981. And tonight there's going to be a forum with survivors, the children of martial law resistors. They're Rosa Soco, Ron De Vera, and Jenny Cortez. And a community altar is going to be uh, created by Soki Laya Smith, and there's going to be a performance by Export Quality. So catch this up at 6 p.m. tonight until 9 p.m. at the Bliss on Bliss Art Projects on 41, 49, 45th Street, Sunnyside, Queens. So kudos and thank you for doing what you're doing, and keep on fighting and for our freedom, for our democratic rights. And so, before I close, I also would like to plug this in that the Philippine Ballet Theater is going to perform in Los Angeles on October 30 at the Wishire Able Theater in Los Angeles at 4 p.m. October 30. So watch this group. They're amazing and they're going to take the Philippine name in on high ground. So that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me this Friday afternoon and hope you're going to continue enjoying life and as a person, as a community. So congratulations once again, Filipino groups, for the events that you put together that will make us solid, make us celebrate life, and also make us stand on the truth. So congratulations and hope to see you in another exciting episode of Conversations with MM. Bye for now.